reads that just before he was shot, John Hickey was, on the 12th of December, he was leaving Dublin City. Him and a friend were heading out towards back home to Dunleary where they live. And they just popped in to at an old orchard, and there was a doorway there, and the two guys had stepped in out of the bad weather for a few minutes, and they were conversing with a local man there who gave evidence at the inquest. During that inquest, it turned out that although John is obviously a Cork man, and he'd come to live in Dunleary through the work of his father. It turns out his father worked for the Board of Works, and he was a clerk with the Board of Works, and that brought him to different parts of the country. And at this time in his life, the father was working at the pier, the harbour in Dunleary, and they were living in Cross Avenue. John became involved with local Republicans after the Rising and into the War of Independence. And only 3 weeks before he was shot himself, the IRA had took on the might of the British Empire's Secret Service, and during Bloody Sunday, which was on November 21st. So there was a close proximity between that and John's death. And John, if he was from Dunleary, or if he was active in Dunleary, he would have known one of the main people involved in that, which was Patrick Moran, or which was it was Patrick Moran. And Patrick Moran had been arrested for his involvement in Bloody Sunday, and he was awaiting trial, and he was actually executed not long after. So there was a link there. But when John that night stepped in out of the rain, him and his friend, they were talking to this guy. They moved out in the shower. They got a break in the shower, and they walked further on towards Dunleary. Now the point where they were was on the main road from Dunleary into Dublin City, right where Vincent's hospital is now. It was on that side of the road. It was directly opposite St. John's Home for the Rest, and St. John's Home for the Rest still exists, still called that. And directly opposite that is where, when they'd walked down the road a bit further, they were approached by two men. And about 10 feet from where the two men were standing or walking, they were ordered to stop and turn around. And when they turned around, they were faced with two men with their hands in their pockets, and one of them had an English accent. And they told the two guys heading towards them nearly to take their hands out of their pockets. And as they did, this Englishman produced a revolver, shot John in the stomach, got him in here, in around the navel, and the bullet passed through his body. He collapsed on the ground. The two men then ran back towards Dublin City, and they were working as a four-man team. These two guys who had come up and carried out the killing also had two men further on back who were interviewing the guy that they had just talked to in the doorway. And they'd actually asked the guy in the doorway, was he John? They asked him by name, are you John? And he said, no, I'm not. And these were all part of either the G division of the Dublin Castle, and probably working with members of the British intelligence. So we don't know what John's full involvement is. It was obviously a little bit more profile or high profile than just your average run-of-the-mill volunteer. They were singling this guy out. We'd love to know who he's involved in, and maybe history will show us that. Some people came to John's aid to try to get him, and he was brought by ambulance to the Dublin City Hospital, which is Baggot Street Hospital. And surgery was performed on John, the bullet was removed, but 2 days later through septicemia he died. And his family took him back to Dunleary. There was an order, a written order given by the military authorities on the family that no military procession would be permitted at his funeral. But saying that, the mass went ahead in St. Michael's Church. The coffin was removed outside, it was draped in the tricolour, and it was brought on the horse-drawn carriage and on the shoulders of his comrades all the way to this spot. Large crowds were reported to have gathered on the streets. Shops would have closed their doors and their windows, and the funeral was held here. Members of John's family, Maurice Hickey in particular, Maurice's father, would have stood at this spot 96 years ago on a day, as I said, not too much unlike this. and he would have his coffin would have been his burial would have taken place here. And there was two prominent people at that funeral, and they were both the leaders of the local IRA here in Dunleary. I think history will show us. 7 years ago, we didn't know much about John. We didn't know the correct spelling of his name. It was only when Jason got in touch with Margaret that we were 100%. We had the two spellings of the names, because the cemetery records here records his name differently, and the newspapers all don't carry the proper name. We always have to go with whatever the public record is, and that's the public record. So I'm